If you're an overthinker, you're probably the person who really starts to think about all of the interactions, all of the possible mistakes that you might have made after social gatherings. Or you're the person who, if someone says, hey, let's chat for a moment, you're going to the worst case scenario of what did I do? Is there something that they're upset with me for? What should I have done better? You start to think back on your previous interactions. Those are just a few examples. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the different types of overthinking. Yes, there are more than one, but also I'm going to leave you with helpful tips that you can implement today to stop or heavily reduce your overthinking. So let's get started. Overthinking, in very basic terms, is thoughts that are in excess, back to back to back. And it is uncontrollable because they're coming one after the other, after the other, after the other. It's almost hard to keep up with. And there are actually a few types of ways that we overthink. One, you can worry about the future. So if you're constantly worried about, well, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do for a job? What do I want to do in order to change the path that I thought I was going to go on? What do I want as far as the future and how I see my family? What do I want as a single? What do I want within relationships? What does that look like? How do I get there? All of these thoughts can be over-consuming. Ruminating about the past. This is where you are stuck in the rear view mirror of your car, so to speak. You are thinking about all of the past mistakes that you made, all of the ways in which you could have potentially offended somebody or hurt somebody's feelings, all of the choices that led to not so great outcomes for you. And this could lead to putting yourself down, and it could really take you down a dark rabbit hole. Next is mind reading. Now, this one can be very dangerous because it makes assumptions about other people's thoughts and emotions and behaviors that are not necessarily rooted in facts. They're rooted in maybe the hyper focus or hyper awareness of somebody's body language, their emotional changes, their nonverbal cues. You're looking at all of this. And based off of that, as well as your own worldview lens, because we all have ways in which we view the world and inferences that we make about people and situations around us. And so those few things together can definitely lead a lot of individuals who struggle with overthinking to go into the mind reading in order to help them make sense of their world. An example of this could be after hanging out with friends or people that you're getting to know, colleagues, coworkers, whatever the case is, you tend to overthink about what people's perceptions of you maybe were. So for instance, you think, did I talk too much? Did I spend too much time talking about myself? Did I not ask enough questions? Was I not smiling enough? Was I not listening enough? And so you start to question you and also make assumptions about how other people view you. Now let's get into how you can actually stop or reduce overthinking. Remember that overthinking starts with one thought. And I want you to think of this thought like a train. And I want you to think of you waiting for the train to come. You don't just hop onto any train and go. You're intentional about which train you're going to get on. And it must go to the direction that you're trying to get to. And so if there's a train that's going somewhere that you're not trying to be, you are not going to get on that train unless it's by mistake. Think about your thoughts like the trains passing by, stopping and then going. You have to think of your thoughts this way, because what happens is our thoughts are automatic and they just are. We can't control the first thought that comes into our head. It just pops up. No control over that. This is a good thing because then I get to decide, do I want to get on that train? Do I like where it's going? Do I know where it's going? And so assessing your thoughts in that way helps you to know that you actually have more control than you think you do. Remember, this process happens really quickly. So you have the automatic thought that just comes in, and then you decide, I'm going to hop on that train. I'm going to think about that a little more. And then by the time you look up, you are somewhere you do not want to be and somewhere you do not like. And you're like, how do I always end up here? Why do I always keep feeling like this? So let's work on allowing the thoughts to automatically come in how they do and not acknowledging them, not continuing to go down that path. Instead, watch them go by. Thoughts just are. What we do with our thoughts is what impacts the most. So if we're taking those thoughts and we're saying, ooh, let's run with this. That's the part where a lot of us get stuck in the overthinking, the rumination, the worry, all of that. So I want you to practice viewing the thought, acknowledging the thought. Yeah, I see you, but you're not my train. I'm not getting on right now. And then letting it pass you by. Now, this takes practice and consistent practice. So, what I want you to do is start to make a goal for yourself, even if it's just for the next week, for the next 3 days. If you're like, a week is too much, for the next 3 days, focus on actually seeing the thought, acknowledging it. If you have to close your eyes and say, okay, let me picture the train stopping by. This is the thought. Allow that to be, and then let it pass you by. Do not give it any more energy. Do not think more into it. Do not try to find evidence to support that thought. Let it pass you by. I want you to actually learn how to set aside time to worry. You're like, what? I thought the point was to not overthink. Correct. What we don't want to do is distract and put those thoughts completely aside and avoid them. We don't want to do that, because if not, we're just creating more problems in the future. Instead, what we want to do is acknowledge the thought, let it pass by, not hop on that train. And then the next thing I want you to work on is actually saying, okay, I'm going to set aside time to worry about this. This will actually help you view the thought, let it pass you by, and know that eventually we'll deal with that. It's just not right now. And I know you can try to do this and you can practice this. Why? Because have you ever been in a situation where you were anxious, or maybe you were sad, or you were feeling big emotions and having thoughts going through your mind 1,000 miles a minute, it felt like, and you said, you know what? I actually have to go into work now. I can't think about this. Or you said, you know what? I have to take an exam. I can't think about this right now. Those are specific examples in which you've purposefully told yourself, I don't have time to overthink. I have to just do. What I want you to do in addition to that is then give yourself a time frame, schedule it out to when you're going to worry. So if not right now, when is it? Listen, I'm going to overthink this maybe around 3 o'clock. Right now is not the time. What this does is this allows you to not avoid, acknowledge the thought, let it pass you by, and work on actually dealing with and processing through the overthinking. So when 3 o'clock comes around, I want you to actually sit there. You've made an appointment with yourself. Keep this appointment and overthink. Give yourself a time limit. So I'm going to spend 30 minutes thinking about this, and I'm going to go wherever the train takes me, or I'm going to give myself an hour. And once that hour is done, once that time frame is done, you can even set an alarm for this. You get up, we're done. We move on. Again, shift your focus. We're acknowledging the thought, we're letting it pass us by, we're scheduling a time to process and overthink, to work through that, and then we're moving forward. So when you're able to do those things and practice it consistently, little by little, you start to recognize, hey, I have more control over this than I initially gave myself credit for. Sometimes we find comfort in overthinking. Although you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I don't like overthinking. I hate that I do this. There's still a sense of comfort in it because you're used to it. And because after you overthink, then you're like, whew, I can let it go. We feel as though if we can pinpoint any possible outcome, I can tell you all of the possible ways this situation could disappoint me. Therefore, when it does, it's not going to be a problem because I already knew it was going to happen. This is a false sense of control because the outcome will not change based on your overthinking or lack thereof. The situation is going to be what it is. It's just how you end up in that situation. Are you depleted emotionally? Are you drained? Are you feeling physical sickness from the overthinking and the anxiety? That's the only difference here. Last tip for today, I want you to work with a therapist or a mentor or someone who's a third party, separated from knowing you on a personal level, but that can keep you accountable, that can help you practice these skills that we're starting to talk about today. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Comment below something that you found helpful in this video that you will start to practice. And also, if you enjoyed this video today, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who you think will also enjoy it and learn as well. I would also suggest watching this video next. Thank you and have a great day.